Welcome to the glittering tourist haven of Grim Hicks, formerly known as Green Imperial Housing Exchange. I know, it ain't much to look at. Fact is, it's a squalid, pirate-infested, rusted-out shithole. But it's a squalid, pirate-infested, rusted-out shithole where I can afford to live. Folks on the corp worlds mostly look down on those of us who live in places like this. They assume we're all criminals, and sure, there's plenty of crime out here, but most of these people are just working men and women looking to scratch out a living. I got myself a nice little ship, second-hand origin single-seater. It ain't the fastest or fanciest bird in the skies, but it gets the job done. The plan was to run myself a legitimate little shipping business. I knew I'd never be able to compete with a giant like FTL, but I figured running cargo around the rim worlds would be enough to keep the lights on and a pillow under my head. But, you know, best laid plans of mice and men and all that. Turns out, if you're not smuggling dope or flying with a crew like the Ninetails, it's damn hard for a pilot to scratch out much more than just enough to survive on. Anywho, I was sitting in the old 38 a couple nights ago having a beer and overheard some mercs talking about an outfit looking for fighter pilots. All I gotta do is get enough experience under my belt to look the part and have a couple of clean kills. The law's pretty fuzzy out in these parts, and the Civilian Defense Force offers payment to pilots willing to clean up things a bit. I know that's bound to make me pretty unpopular around here, but a man's gotta eat. They even offer paid on-the-job training. I don't know exactly what I was expecting, but turns out CDF are playing fast and loose with words like paid, since I had to pay them 500 credits for the license, and training, since they just sent me out to the Roy Belts to hunt down some poor sap flying alone. Sure enough, I found him flying in the shadow of one particularly large rock. If I were to wager a guess, I'd say he was expecting a nest ship passing by to be a freighter. You can only imagine his disappointment. After a couple passes, that fella went up in a fireball, and I got ready to head back home when another pilot showed up. I don't know if he was looking for his buddy or for me, but he seemed mighty unhappy about what I'd done, and we wound up scrapping too. Gotta give him credit, he was one hell of a hot stick. Got in a couple solid shots on me. Kept the distance between us so close I was sure we'd wind up sucking vacuum together, but just like the first, he eventually went on to meet his maker. I hightailed it back to port before anyone else came looking, and reached the notion that if I'm going to do this for a living, I'm going to need better guns. The little gimbaled lasers on this bird are about as useful as tits on a hog. I was outgunned by those jokers, and there's sure to be worse out there. There's not a whole lot of options out here in the boonies for upgrading the gear on a ship, so I guess that means I'm gonna have to suck it up and go dirt side. What I need the most, though, is experience. No amount of shopping trips can buy that. It's one thing buzzing around carrying boxes to settlers for a couple grand a pop. It's another thing entirely being in the hot seat when there's plasma flying both ways. Tunnel vision got the best of me out there, and never even fired off my missiles. Got so caught up in the fight I forgot to even power them up. Man can't afford to keep making mistakes like that. Well, now I know where I stand and what I gotta do to get where I need to be. All that's left to do is up and do it. Guess I'll be seeing y'all around.